Your life begins to transform the moment you choose to think differently. And this, right here, could be that moment. This is Mindshift with Geetanjali, the space where you shift your mindset, rise above limitations, and reframe your reality. I'm Geetanjali, mindset coach, author, and your companion on this journey to rediscover the power that's already within you. Let's begin. I'm so grateful you're here, and I want to start by saying a huge thank you to everyone who has been following and subscribing to my podcast. Your support means the world to me. Let's look at the 4 P's: the problem, the proof, the promise, and the plan. The problem isn't that you don't want to grow, it's that many of your thoughts and choices are still being guided by a mindset that learned how to cope, not how to expand. You may notice it as overthinking, as hesitation, as staying prepared, careful, and controlled, even when your life no longer requires survival mode. Your mind keeps asking, what could go wrong? Before it ever asks, what's possible now? And so you stay functional, but not fully free. Proof: this isn't a personal failure, it's just how your nervous system works. When your mind has been shaped by survival, it defaults to protection automatically. Most people live their entire lives in this defensive crouch without ever realizing it. But as we discussed in episode 11, once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. You begin to notice that the very walls you built to keep yourself safe are now the walls keeping you small. Promise. In today's episode, you learn how to recognize in real moments when survival is quietly driving the wheel, and how to step into a mindset built for success instead. Not by pushing or by forcing courage, but by learning how to bring awareness and safety into growth. So, what's the plan? Here's how we'll move through this together. I'll help you understand how survival shows up in everyday life. We'll explore what a success mindset actually feels like in the body. I'll share the science behind the shift. And then I'll guide you through practical tools and a powerful inner experience to help you start living the shift today. When we talk about survival versus success, we aren't talking about your motivation or your ambition. We are talking about the origin of your choices. A survival mindset develops when life has required you to be hyper alert, careful, and self protective. It forms quietly, etched into your system through seasons of stress, illness, emotional overwhelm, or long periods of feeling unsupported. In survival, your mind is locked into a narrow set of questions. How do I avoid a problem? How do I stay in control? How do I prevent things from getting worse? This mindset isn't wrong. At one point in your life, it was your greatest ally. But here is the challenge: what has helped you cope is rarely what helps you expand. A success mindset doesn't mean you've become fearless or that you're pushing harder. It simply means your decisions are no longer driven by protection. Success asks a different set of questions. What feels aligned right now? What is the next small step forward? What would I choose if I trusted myself? The difference shows up in the smallest moments. Survival tightens, success softens. Survival rushes or freezes, success responds. Survival tries to control outcomes, success focuses on presence and movement. This episode isn't about judging the version of you that lived in survival. It's about recognizing that you may have finally outgrown that armor and that your system is ready for a new way of operating. Once that awareness lands, everything else begins to shift. Now let's anchor this in science, simple and clear. Your brain is hardwired for survival first and the success second. At the center of this operation is the amygdala. It's small, powerful, and its only job is protection. But here is the catch. It doesn't just scan for physical danger, it scans for uncertainty, emotional risk, and the threat of the unknown. When the amygdala senses a risk, it sends a lightning fast message to your body. Stay alert. In an instant, your muscles tighten, your breathing becomes shallow, your focus narrows. That is survival mode. And here is the key thing to understand. When survival is active, growth goes offline. Your brain stops asking, what's possible? And starts asking, what could go wrong? This happens because blood flow literally shifts away from the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for clarity, creativity, and foresight, and moves towards the primitive circuits designed for quick reactions. This is why, in those moments of pressure, you play old, painful scenarios. You struggle to think expansively. Even the smallest decisions feel heavy. Your brain isn't broken, it's being efficient. It has traded your success circuitry for survival circuitry. So you must be asking, how do we get it back? The shift from survival to success isn't a matter of willpower. It's a matter of nervous system safety. Here is the bridge. The moment you pause, the moment you slow your breath, you send a signal through the vagus nerve. Think of this as a main communication highway between your body and your brain. That breath says, I am safe right now. That signal acts like a cooling balm for the amygdala. As it settles, the blood flow returns to the prefrontal cortex. And suddenly, clarity returns. Your body softens. Success-based choices feel accessible again. This is why awareness changes everything. Every time you pause, every time you choose not to react to the panic, you are literally rerouting your brain. That's not mindset theory, that's neuroscience. The more you practice this, the more your brain learns a new truth. And what is that? Growth is safe, expansion is possible. You aren't forcing success anymore. You are simply creating the safety for it to emerge. Let's look at the moment of the shift, which you'll probably recognize. Picture this. You're about to do something small. It's not dramatic And it isn't life-changing on the surface. Just one simple step forward. Maybe it's sending a signal message, speaking up in a meeting, or finally starting that project you've been thinking about for months. At first, you feel fine, but then almost instantly something shifts. Your body tightens, your mind starts to race, your chest feels just heavy enough to notice. Suddenly, the logic kicks in. Let me think about this more. What if I say the wrong thing? Maybe tomorrow is better. You don't feel scared exactly, you just feel hesitant. From the outside, it looks like careful planning, but on the inside, it's your nervous system stepping in. Nothing bad is happening, but your body doesn't know that yet. So you pause, you delay, you tell yourself, you'll get to it later. But later never quite arrives. Now, here's the part most people miss. In that moment, you weren't lacking confidence, you weren't unmotivated, and you certainly weren't incapable. You were in survival. Your system was asking one simple question: is this safe? And because it couldn't immediately answer yes, it defaulted to protection. Now I want you to imagine that same moment, but with one slight change. You notice the tightening, you notice the racing thoughts, but instead of pushing through or judging yourself, you simply pause. You take one slow breath. You feel your feet on the ground and you quietly remind yourself, this feels uncomfortable, but I am safe. In that 1 second, something softens. The thoughts don't disappear, but they lose their urgency. From this steadier place, you take that one small step, not because you're suddenly fearless, but because you are present. That is the shift. That is the success mindset in real life. It's not about confidence as a personality trait, it's about calm as a response. Once you experience that moment, even once, you realize something life altering. You aren't here to survive your life anymore. You're here to live it. And once you recognize that moment, the tightening, the hesitation, the pause, you can begin to work with it instead of against it. Let me give you a new tool which I call Which Voice Is This? I want to give you a different tool today. One you can use when you're already thinking and don't want to stop what you're doing. I call this one Which Voice Is This? Step 1. Catch the thought. No stopping required. When a thought shows up that slows you down, hesitation, doubt, pulling back, don't try to change it. Just hear it. Thoughts like, I should wait, I'm not sure yet, what if this doesn't work? Instead of engaging with the thought, ask, which voice is this? Step 2. Name the voice, not the content. This is the important part. You're not asking if the thought is true. You're asking where it's coming from. Is this the survival voice? The one trained to protect, predict, and prevent loss? Or is this the success voice? The one that trusts learning, movement, and growth? Most people never separate the voice from the message. They assume the loudest voice is the wisest one, but it's usually just the most familiar. Step 3. Respond from the success voice. Once you name the voice, try this simple internal response. If it's survival, say, I hear you and we're okay right now. Then, and this matters, ask the success voice one question. What would I choose if I trusted myself just 5% more? You're not demanding courage, you're inviting possibility. That question alone shifts your posture, your tone, your breath. Step 4. Act from identity, not emotion. Now take one small action, not to prove anything, but to reinforce identity. Because every time you do this, your brain learns, this is who I am now. Not someone who never feels fear, but someone who doesn't confuse fear with truth. Why this tool works? This tool works because it separates you from the protective voice and gives leadership back to the self that wants to grow. Let's do the visualization section together. Before we begin, I want to explain what visualization really is because this is for imagination's sake. Visualization is the practice of using your mind to create a felt experience of the future so your brain and nervous system can begin familiarizing themselves with it. When you visualize with emotion and presence, your brain activates many of the same neural pathways, as if the experience were already happening. That's why athletes use it. That's why performers use it. That's why healing and growth respond to it. Your mind doesn't fully distinguish between what's vividly imagined and what's repeatedly experienced. So when you visualize safety, confidence, and expansion, your nervous system begins learning. This state is available to me. This is not forcing change. This is teaching your body a new reference point. So let's do this together gently. I want you to imagine yourself standing in a quiet, open space. There's no complex scenery you need to picture, no images you need to get right. Simply turn your attention inward. Notice how your body feels after holding so much for so long. Maybe you feel a tightness in your shoulders, a weight in your chest, or a bracing in your belly. This is the part of you that learned how to stay alert, to manage, to hold everything together. You aren't here to judge this part or even to change it yet. You're just noticing it. Take a slow breath in and gently acknowledge this part of yourself. Silently say, I see how hard you've been working. And as you exhale, notice if anything softens, even just a fraction. There is no rush. Now gently turn your attention. Notice another landscape right beside the first one. This one feels different. It's more open. It's spacious. It's calmer, not louder. This is your success landscape, not the rushed version, not the pressured version, but the version where you finally trust yourself to grow. Let yourself face it. Notice how your breath moves here. Notice your posture. There's no demand, only an invitation. As you look ahead, you see someone standing there, grounded, steady, and completely at ease. As you move closer, you realize it's you. This isn't a perfect future version of you. It is a version of you who no longer lives in constant protection. This version of you knows uncertainty, but they no longer fear it. They look at you with deep warmth and they say, "You don't need to survive anymore. You can grow now." Let those words land, not just in your mind, but deep in your chest. Imagine this version of you as you place a hand gently over your heart. You feel a warmth spreading, slow, reassuring, and steady. It's a sense of permission. Permission to soften, permission to expand, permission to move forward without fear leading the way. As you breathe, this version begins to merge into you, not disappearing, but integrating, because they were never separate. They have always been right here. Take one slow breath in and let it go. Notice how your body feels now, perhaps more spacious, perhaps steadier. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. You are here and something has shifted, because a success mindset doesn't begin with pressure. As in every episode, let's do a few affirmations. Take a slow breath in, and as you exhale, let these words settle in. You can repeat them or simply listen. The foundation. I am safe in this moment. I am allowed to grow without rushing. I trust myself to move forward gently. The shift. I no longer need fear to guide my choices. I choose progress over protection. My body is learning that expansion is safe. The becoming. I allow success to unfold at my pace. I'm stepping out of survival and into alignment. I am becoming who I am meant to be. Take one more slow breath in and let it go. As you move through the rest of your day, simply notice the moments when your body tightens just a little, when your mind wants to pause, delay, or protect. Don't judge those moments, just recognize them. Because awareness is always where the shift begins. Often, you don't need a massive breakthrough. You don't need total certainty, and you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to notice when you're moving from fear and gently choose presence instead. That's how success becomes something you live from rather than something you chase. And in our next podcast, episode 13, is this your turning point? We'll go even deeper. We'll explore how to stay grounded and consistent in your shifts, especially on the days when old patterns try to return. Thank you for joining me today on Mindshift with Geetanjali. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear this message and subscribe for next week's episode. Every moment of awareness you create today builds the reality you live tomorrow. Keep rising, keep shifting, keep reframing, and keep becoming who you're meant to be. Rise, shift, reframe, become.